Hello there.
Pete and Allie from Two Tiny Wings here, and today we are going to give you an update to one of our last videos. Right before our trip, we gave you our Rise of the Resistance strategy for how we were going to get on the ride. We have now been to Hollywood Studios, we have gotten on Rise of the Resistance, so we wanted to tell you a little bit about how it went, what we did, so that you know what you're in for when you go to book your own boarding pass.
If you checked our earlier video on our Rise of the Resistance strategy before we left, we had a strategy where we were going to get there really early. We were going to get there probably an hour and a half before the park opened, because we had heard that they were not only opening the park early before the posted opening times, but they also were opening the boarding groups as people were entering the parks.
And that's the key, because once those boarding passes are gone, they're gone. As of right now, which it is January 1st, 2020, you have to get into a boarding group to get on this ride. There is no standby line, there is no fast pass sign up. This is the only way to get on the ride right now.
So we were prepared to get there super early, but then maybe a couple of days before we left, they actually changed it to where the boarding groups didn't open until the official park opening, even though they were letting people in before the official park opening.
Yeah, instead of Hollywood Studios starting all the rides, letting people get into lines about half an hour before the posted time, what they've started doing now is holding everybody at the end of Hollywood Boulevard, just like they do at the Magic Kingdom. And so at 7 o'clock, you can go down Sunset, you can go almost up to the Chinese Theater, and then they'll hold you there until the park officially opens at 7.
And so for us, it was 7 o'clock, and that's where you still have to be really careful to watch when the park hours are for the days you're there, because they've been changing them a lot. When we were there, they'd moved some up to 6 o'clock, and as the ride is still maintaining its popularity, you're gonna have to be kind of flexible to make sure that you know when the park is opening.
So tip number 1. Make sure you know when the park is opening. All of our timing will hinge off of our 7 o'clock park opening. So you want to take our numbers and just adjust them for whenever your Hollywood Studios opening time is. Now, 7 o'clock opening, we left our hotel.
Which was Pop Century.
Yes, at 6:15. We did 2 early morning leavings. Both times we took a lift. One time we took a minivan lift, and then one time we took the more traditional lift.
And part of the reason we had to do that was because they weren't running the Skyliner that early, because it was so early. And that early they were starting to run the buses, but the buses were very, very crowded. So we wanted to make sure that we got there on time at the time that we wanted to get there.
Yeah, both times when we walked out and we saw the bus, we were maybe gonna flip over to the bus if there was enough room, but there wasn't. There was more than a bus's worth of people in line. So we get to Hollywood Studios about 6:25, 6:30. Next step is security, because you have to be in the park to get a boarding pass. And when they mean in the park, they mean in the park. Now, and everybody in your party has to be in the park. Now,
at that time, the security actually didn't take too long. It was maybe 5-10 minutes. Yeah. They have lots of open security tables, and they move you through fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think one time we were in the park and tapped into the park, not even through security, but we were all tapped in by 6:42, and I think the other time was like 6:45. Yeah. So they'll let you go through the shops. As I said, they'll let you go on Sunset Boulevard. So tip number 2, make sure all of your party is in the park, and you're all tapped in, and you are all registered and together on your My Disney Experience app, because that's how you're going to get your boarding pass.
And you want to make sure all that stuff is set before you get to the park, because again, you're going to be getting there, you have maybe 10-15 minutes before the boarding groups open, and the last thing you want to do is you pull up that app, and all of a sudden you're not logged in, or the people aren't there, and now you have trouble because the clock starts ticking when the park opens, and if all of a sudden they run out,
like the guy behind us, all of a sudden his app wasn't working, and we got on one boarding group, and his boarding group was like 50 boarding groups after us. So the final, and I think the best tip, is they are going to make an announcement when the park opens, and they will say, Hollywood Studios is now open, welcome, you can now sign up for boarding passes. Both times we found that you could actually get into the boarding pass function maybe 45-30 seconds before the park opens.
Both times it was definitely before the actual announcement. So one of the things that we realized that you want to do is a couple of minutes before the park opening time. So for us it was 6:57, 6:58. one or two of us would already have our phones out refreshing it. And a very particular way of doing it, if you look on the My Disney Experience app, there'll be a My Status button and a Join a Boarding Group button. And so what you want to do is you want to go into My Status, try to find a boarding group. If it says you're not allowed, go all the way back and go back in. If they all of a sudden make the announcement and it seems like you're still not getting a boarding group, one of the things you want to try to do is immediately close out the app completely and then go back in again, because we did see a couple of people that were around us that happened. They were having trouble getting into a boarding group, and we said, hey, just close the app. They closed it, they opened it back up, and bingo, they were able to get in.
And to give you an idea of how this works, the first time we did it, park opens at 7. We got into boarding group 22. We got on Rise of the Resistance 9:30ish. Our boarding group was called. The second time we did it, again, we got in a boarding group right away. We were in boarding group 13. We were on that ride in the first hour.
Yeah, and that was I don't think it opened right at the park opening. So we got on almost instantaneously. Yeah.
So if you definitely want to get on this ride, and it's a phenomenal ride. It is so good. I will be putting up a full ride through later on. So if you want to see what you're in for, it is an experience. It is a movie. You are in. If you've ever wanted to be inside of a Star Wars movie, this is the ride for you.
It's not a ride. I told you it was not a ride. It's an experience, and you're in the movie. Yeah. You're in the movie.
And that's all we'll say. Yeah. But if you definitely want to make sure that you get on this ride, that's what we would say. Get to the park about half an hour before park opening. That way you'll be in the park with 15 minutes to go. Get your My Disney Experience app all set up, ready to go, open, and then start refreshing about 2 minutes before the posted time. And
that's the easiest way to get yourself guaranteed onto the ride. Even if it's a little bit later and you're in boarding group 50 or 60 or 70, you're still going to get onto the ride. That is the easiest way to make sure that, hey, if priority one is we're getting on this ride, no way about it, that's the way you do it.
Yeah. So hopefully this helped you in your own planning. If you have any additional comments or questions about what we did, how we did it, what we do differently in the future, definitely let us know in the comment section below. Like this video if it helped you out. Subscribe so you can keep up with all of our future adventures. And with that,
we invite you to set your imaginations free.